I decided to join a Pokemon Draft League. A Pokemon Draft League is where individuals, called coaches, take turns drafting teams with unique Pokemon and battling each other weekly. My placement in the draft was 5th out of 22, which is a really good spot to get what I want safely. The only drawback with such a big league is that it takes a while to get back to me since we use something called the stake format, where the last person in the draft gets 2 picks ending and starting the new round. This league is also a bit different than your typical league, where most of the best mons aren't available to draft. They are known as mercenaries, which you can purchase with something called petty cash. You see, every Pokemon has a value attached to it, and as a coach, you are allocated a budget of 1000 points, and of that 1000 you must spend a minimum of 950. This league is unique because you must also use your budget to buy items for your Pokemon. You can earn something called winnings, which are used to buy a single item via rolling a dice, which you can use to unlock more items by killing the opposing team's Pokemon. Depending on what your total team value looks like is how petty cash is awarded. The team with the lower team value of the two is awarded petty cash, which they can use to purchase temporary items like Megastones and Mercenaries. So, my first pick was Necrozma. Necrozma is known as a versatile Pokemon. It can do a plethora of things like set up moves like Dragon Dance, Calm Mind, and even a Trick Room. It can set up Stealth Rocks. It also gets access to Moonlight and Morning Sun for reliable recovery. Its signature ability, Prism Armor, reduces the amount of damage it takes from super effective attacks by 1/4. Its weakness is only being Bug, Ghost, and Dark. My next pick was something I was surprised to see last 39 picks. My second Pokemon drafted was Ting-Lu. It pairs pretty well with Necrozma, as Ting-Lu could take on the Dark and Ghost type attacks aimed at it, where Necrozma can take on the fighting type attacks aimed at Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu also has insane bulk, paired with the signature ability Vessel of Ruin, where upon entry reduces the special attack stat of the opposing Pokemon. Ting-Lu is the bulky annoying Pokemon that comes in, sets up spikes and stealth rocks, and deals damage with earthquakes and ruinations. Also having the option to whirlwind opposing Pokemon out, forcing them to take rocks and spikes damage. My next pick was Hisuin Goodra, adding more bulk to the team, but a Pokemon with phenomenal Dragon and Steel typing, which has an insane amount of resistances paired with its amazing stat distribution. It's not only a defensive Pokemon, but can also dish out some serious damage with its 110 in special attack and 100 in attack stats. Throw an Assault Vest on it with its already insane 150 special defense, and this Pokemon won't be dying anytime soon. I know I have a very good defensive core in Ting-Lu and Hisuin Goodra, but I knew I needed a setup mon. I chose Mimikyu to fill that role. Not only is it an option in late game sweep, but it also has a key immunity to fighting which both Ting-Lu and Hisuin Goodra struggle against. With his signature ability, Mimikyu could take on an attack and not be dealt any damage thanks to his disguise ability, making it a great option to be able to set up Swords Dance and Sweep. For my next pick, I knew I wanted something pretty fast that could hit hard and pivot. To fill that role, I chose Palma. I haven't used this Pokemon before, and with its natural speed tier of 105, it outruns threats like Galarian Zapdos, Delphox, and Sandy Shocks. It can also deal heavy damage with Double Shock in close combat and gives me a Volt Switcher to threaten mons who don't want to take the hit, giving me momentum. It also has a Volt Absorb to stop opposing Volt Switches while recovering a little bit of HP. I was lacking a water type and decided that this round I wanted one, so I went with one of my favorite Pokemon to draft, and that is Araquanid. It's another bulky mon, but it helps with my fighting weaknesses in my defensive core. It also has access to sticky webs that can turn the tides of the game by slowing opposing Pokemon down. Araquanid can also pass burns around with scalds to offensive threats that would pose an issue for my team. It also has Water Absorb to stop opposing Pokemon from spamming water moves on Ting-Lu. For my next pick, I went with Vileplume, another favorite of mine. I had originally planned to pick up Venusaur and Torkoal to run a Sun pair for late game sweeps, but unfortunately, Venusaur went the round before. Not to say Vileplume is a bad mon, it's a great defensive mon with access to moves like Spring Slap, Leech Seed, and Sleep Powder. It's a super annoying mon to deal with because it sponges all these hits and recovers it all back. It passes around Toxic and absorbs Toxic Spikes on my side of the field. All in all, a great addition to the team. The next Pokemon I drafted was Swellow. This mon is an absolute menace with Choice Specs Boomburst, which was the one and only item I bought using my budget. It's one of the fastest mons allowed on the format, sitting at 125 speed. Swellow won't be outsped by much outside of Scarf users. It gives me access to a fast U-turn to safely get out of situations I don't want to be in, and it can also hit Steel types with Heat Wave, and after things are chipped down enough, Swellow can come in and pick things off for a late game sweep. With my final pick of the draft, I chose Ninetales. It sits at a respectable 100 speed and has some good special defense, but with its drought ability, those flamethrowers will hit so much harder and nullify any water type threats. It also has access to moves like Nasty Plot, which in the sun deals insane amount of damage, coverage and energy ball for those pesky water and ground types, and side shock for those fighting types Ting-Lu and Guja don't appreciate. So that's my team for the UCC. I like Hazard and Control with this team with only a single Defogger and Swallow and no Rapid Spin. And I wasn't trying to pick up a low tier Mon just to be able to have it, but I intend to keep up pressure the entire game so my opponent doesn't have the chance to set up hazards. So what do you think of my draft? Let me know down below and make sure you subscribe as Draft League content will be uploaded every Saturday. So stay tuned for the Wayward Cave Garchomp's Week 1 battle next week.